didn't realise how to do it, so that's good.
Has anybody else got anything where they've got family, whānau, or anything else that's done anything? Councillor Sedgwick.
John Cunningham is presenting as the Deputy Chair of the Te Kaupapa Community Committee.
Okay. Okay, that's all right. Look, as far as as long as they're noted, that's all we need to do. Okay, they're not excluded; they just need to be noted for clarity for people who may perceive it as being a conflict. All right, those 3 notes. Okay, nobody else. All right. Have we got Maria there? Morning, Maria. How are you? You want to turn your microphone on, Maria?
Kia ora koutou.
How are you this morning?
Ooh, rushing around.
Oh, that's all right, Maria. Hey, look, you're our first submitter for this morning. So we'll kick off. You've got 10 minutes. That includes any questions you may need from councillors. So if you only speak for 5 or 6 minutes and leave a bit of time for any questions that might be forthcoming. But we do close off at 10 minutes. And yeah, basically the floor is yours, Maria, and we'll kick the clock off from now. And take your submission as being read.
Take my submission as being read.
Yeah.
Well, kia ora koutou. Ko Maria Clark Takuingwa, Te Tumuaki Huakina Development Trust. I suppose we put the submission in because we're always worried about what's happening with the Waikato River, as you know. For the last 40 years, there's been asked about the awa and the harbour. So for us, Mureke didn't even talk to us, didn't even come to see us, didn't consult with us, just decided to put in the application and turn around and say that they'd met with us. So that's never been the case. We've always opposed things that were happening at Mureke, and this last summer is a perfect example of what happened in Auckland with no water. And then, of course, the river was so low that we were really concerned about everything. So pretty quickly, we just don't want them to just go along and take water without consulting with us. We don't want a Tamaki Makaurau having all the water in Waikato. We don't want to be set aside and left on the side with no influence in the decision making. So as you know, by the Chilwell decision, by Judge Chilwell, he agreed with us, and that's on the last part of my submission. Further to comment, Huakina Development Trust further submit that the health and well-being of our awa is intrinsically linked to the health and well-being of our people. The Chilwell decision in 1987 agreed with our kaumātua that the spiritual values and cultural relationship of Māori people to the waters of the region, including the waters of Waikato River and its tributaries. The people of Te Puaha want to note the significance of the awa to us as follows: Wairua, whakapapa, karakia, taonga, hauora, hinenaro, mātauranga. Our awa provides sustenance. It nourishes and restores our tinana, which is this. It settles our hinenaro, and it holds the stories of our people, so we are never lost. We are concerned that the application, if granted, will have a detrimental environmental and cultural impact on our awa tūpuna. The exercise of our tikanga and mana whakahaere and our consequent relationship with the awa. We wish our submission to be heard in conjunction with the submission made with Waikato Tainui. So we're all pulling together on this. And
so Maria, can I just hold you for a minute? This is I'm trying to connect the dots here. You're doing a submission around the river. This is a representation review.
Oh, of Huakina representation, sorry.
A submission here from you to the Waikato District Council's representation review.
Awesome. Okay. I've got so many things in front of me. Oh, gosh. Okay.
That's all right.
I'm in the submission to the Board of Inquiry.
Hey, look, that's quite all right, Maria. Hey, we never laugh at this time of the morning.
Oh, right. Representation. I can't even think which one that was.
Maria, I've just sent you the overarching comment that Huakina made in regard to the representation review on chat. So if you have a look at that.
Okay. that the overall draft initial proposal timeline is acceptable to Māori reps. Ah, the awards, awesome. Yes, yes. Okay, so I know where I am now. So for us, the inequity of representation, you know, we keep talking about treaty rights, where we are in this plan of things. And we were really worried that only 2 Māori reps isn't enough to represent Māori in our area of Waikato. So we saw that if we're going to have something like this, it should be a partnership. It shouldn't be, you know, if it gets down to votes, what does that mean for us? 2 reps, what does that mean? So we were really concerned about the inequity of representation. Totally concerned about it. And we know the wards are opening up. We realise the wards are opening up so that there's Māori representation, but you know, 20 years, 30 years ago, there was none. And if there was, it was somebody that really wasn't in touch with the people. So big concern for us. I can't even explain how worried we are at this end of Waikato, because it always feels like Te Puaha, and I think Jackie's on, I should have realised when Jackie was online, Te Puaha or Waikato was never ever followed up on. So good that Jackie's representing, but still worried that we need more Māori representation. Kia ora.
Thanks, Maria. Look, sorry about the slow start. Good start.
I've got about 7 of these going through.
So look, just probably, and look, and I informed my councillors I wasn't going to let
Ask
them
questions.
make statements and do things wrong. But I think for you, what I will do, because you're our first submitter, so you actually understand, we're actually guided by legislation as to how many you can have. So it's actually based around who's on the Māori electoral roll, not Māori at large.
I realise that, but you can make a decision to have more people on. You don't need to just stay with the legislation. As a really good board, you could make a decision and turn around and say, oh, we'll have a couple more. You know, just saying.
Okay. Is there any questions of Maria? All right. Oh, hang on. I was looking for handshakes. I got to go do what I meant to do. Emojis. Councillor Church.
Jackie.
Thank you, Your Worship. The other point, tēnā koe Maria. Now, the other point that you had on your submission was you around the 2 Māori wards, they wanted a ward each. The two Māori reps should have a ward each.
Yes.
So obviously I get the whole, you know, count Māori representative by ward, but that if there's 2, can you just expand that comment a bit more, please, around if we've only got 2 Māori representatives, what you mean by should have their own ward?
Okay, so if we've only got 2 Māori representatives, then the ward that's that got the most Māori in it should be the ward that's, you know, they should be representing those Māori in that area, not just not having I don't even know how to say it, not having anyone but Māori represent Māori in that area, because it's actually the biggest population in that area. So if you've got a whole, how many wards are there? 16.
There's two representatives.
No, 2 representatives, but how many wards across the Waikato District Council? How many represent you know, people representing the different areas? So Toko Whata, all that.
There's what is that number of wards?
I read
It's 8, Your Worship.
8. Yeah, I thought it was 8.
So if you were to look at, say, Rangiriri Te Kauwhata and that had the largest population of Māori in it, then actually Māori should be represented as on the ward. It's hard to explain because we all know that the farming community, all the communities are big areas, but actually for the inequity for Māori, Ngarawahia, Hopuhopu, Rangiriri, all those places are places of significance to us and should be represented by Māori representatives. Kia ora.
Okay. Councillor Gibb.
Yes, thanks, Your Worship. Maria, I understand where you're coming from. There's a constraint we have to work within. At the moment, the proposal is the 2 Māori ward councillors are representing the entire district. They can go anywhere and represent anybody. If you had a choice to halve that, where would you put the line? Would you go north, south, east, west? How would you do that?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. I would expect that there'd be, you know, like I said, there doesn't really, that's legislation to have two. But
Yes.
if you were a forward-thinking board and going forward, you would think, oh, okay, this area needs more people involved in it and not just two Māori councils.
Yes, I understand that that's your wish. If we can't do that, would you want the two representatives to be able to go anywhere in our district to represent anyone on the Māori electoral roll?
Yes, I would.
Thank you.
Yes, I would.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for that question.
Thank you.
Yes, I would. I would hate to leave any Māori out, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no more questions. Thanks, Maria. Do appreciate it. Once we finally got on the right submission, I can deal with the water one if you want me to.
I think that's Auckland City Council, actually. Kia ora.
Thanks, Maria.
Nice to meet everyone.
Okay, see you later. Well, that was interesting to say the least. Good on her. All right, do we have any other submitters? Can't hear you, Galen.
Sorry about that. As per the schedule, the 9:40 Waitama Thompson has not responded and they're not in the waiting room. So we're assuming that they're a no-show. Chris Rayner has rung in to advise that he's unable to present his submission now, but Gabrielle is coming in at 10 o'clock to provide the Raglan Community Board submission.
So Chris is a no-show.
Yes, he's apologised.
Okay.
So we have Bill Rosman in the waiting room from Glen Afton Pukemeto Community Society. Would you like to take him?
So his submission on page 223.
Yes.
Okay, hang on a minute. Right out, show him in, Galen.
Yep.
Are you there, Bill? You there, Bill? Can you hear me, Bill? You there, Bill? Right. Okay, Bill, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, you can now. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay. All right, Bill, welcome. Got your submission in front of us, so you can take it as read, and you've got 10 minutes to present, and that will include any questions the councillors may want to ask. So, so head away, Bill.
Well, I just quickly reinforce what we noted was our community's interest is Huntly. All our services are on Huntly, and we don't believe we'd get a very good representation or access to grants or services if we're part of Raglan. That's our main point.
All right, hang on. All right, is that all, Bill? I'll ask any questions.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So anybody got any questions for Bill at all? Councillor Beck.
Yeah, good morning, Bill. Just wondering if you had any, you talked about access to grants as well as feeling represented. Did you have a view on the community board, community committee arrangements in addition to, the ward councillor?
I haven't seen that part. I was assuming that wasn't going to change much. We have a community committee which is linked to the council.
Yep, and that's working well for you from a representation perspective.
Yes, we usually get at least one councillor turn up, and we get excellent service from the council.
Thank you.
But we feel that by moving to Raglan, that will be diminished.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Bill. Rightio. Next is Councillor Gibb.
Yes, good morning, Bill. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Did you have a look at the proposed central ward perimeters?
No.
So, okay, the proposed central ward included Ngaruawahia. There were some changes. If
Sure.
you were included in with Huntly, how would you feel about being linked also with the Ngaruawahia existing ward or town?
No, that would be fine.
Okay, do you see that that is some connection to you?
Yes, we do go to the main council office sometimes.
Okay. All right, thanks. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Worship. Bill, what's your population out there, mate?
I think the two villages, it's over 300.
So do you use Ngaruawahia for anything else other than the council office?
I go to the supermarket there now and then, but it's mainly, Ngaruawahia is mainly when you're passing through. Like I was in Huntly yesterday, shopping, buying stuff, doing stuff,
And you feel that's what the rest of the community do, that they do most of their contact with Huntly?
Yes, I'd say 50, 60, 70% of our contact with, professionals or shopping is first of all Huntly. And
Thank
then,
you,
of
Bill.
course, Hamilton.
All right. Is there anyone else would like to ask Bill any questions of his submission? If not, thank you, Bill. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, Gayleen.
We have Gabrielle for the Raglan Community Board, page 75.
Raglan Community Board. Right, found it. Gabriel. Morning, Gabriel.
Morning, Mayor Allen.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. And for a couple of long days of doing this, so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, all right. Okay, Gabriel, look, got your submission in front of us from the community board. Take it as read. So you've got 10 minutes, so knock your socks off.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. So yeah, I want to speak specifically about the Raglan Community Board and the expansion of the Raglan Community Board area. And I just want to make a few simple points, really. I don't have masses to say because it's mostly in there, but for us, clearly, Te Mata, Te Uku, Ruapuki, Oketi, for them, Raglan is a key community of interest. I wouldn't say it's the only one because obviously their own communities are communities of interest as well. But we know very clearly that that's a fact. And then also just in future, we see a lot more people settling into lifestyle blocks in these areas, And so it feels like there's, for us out here, it feels like there's less of a clear split between the urban and the rural. I mean, I've been here for 10 years nearly in Raglan, and I've seen the difference over that time. Obviously, the urban area is very clearly urban, we know that, but there is a lot more people living out on the fringes, up in the hills. It's just happening, and I'm sure it will keep happening more. I think we don't agree that Raglan Community Board should be urban focused only. And I can see from some other submissions that they also agreed. Even people who are not from Raglan area are also stating, made some statements about that. We've had, I don't feel like we've had a good explanation as to why this is being held strongly by the council for Raglan, even though we've asked a number of times that question, why is that important and why? We haven't actually really had a clear answer. Yet this seems to be the main reason why there is not agreement to extend the Raglan Community Board area. And really the main point, I think, is that Raglan Community Board is involved in influencing decisions, basically is involved in and influences decisions that are being made that affect those rural communities and the things that they care about. And we want them to be able to vote for the community board and have the opportunity to be more involved in their local government. That's all I really have to say.
Okay, so I'll probably ask first question, Gabrielle, is did you survey the community other than what the community board thinks should happen? Did you actually lobby the community out there as to whether they had a view on this?
The way that we did it is that community board members talked with people that they knew who lived in the rural community. So in a sense, I suppose we did do that. We didn't put it out as a public survey, but we spoke to a number of people, each of the board members, to check in with them what they felt, and spoke with people from all those rural communities I mentioned. And they all, as far as I know from the feedback I had from the board members, my own conversations, it all seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah, okay. The only question I'd question that, it's all about connections with friends and not with the community. That's the only question I'd say to that.
Well, it wasn't really necessarily friends, because I was standing, for example, down at the soccer fields, and there's a lot of people down there who, I don't really know them, but I know that they live in Ruapuki. So I went across and spoke with them, or I know they live in Te Mata or Tuuku. And I just went, you've got all these families there, like down the soccer. And I just wandered around and had a chat to them. And it was quite clear from that. So it wasn't necessarily just friends, actually.
Okay, Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Your Worship. Hi, Gabrielle. Look, in light of the fact that you're proposing extending your community board boundary, including rural, you'll be aware that under this proposal, the Whangaroa ward will include part of Te Akau. Have you had discussions about the community board representing those, if there was an appetite in those communities to become part of the community board catchment? What would your thoughts on that be?
So the board has had discussion about that, and we can see that actually Te Akau Landing, as distinct from Te Akau, that for them, Raglan is a strong community of interest. So because they come across, but like we just know that for a fact. I wouldn't say that for Te Akau. We have spoken to some people. We had a resident who's involved in a community committee over there, one of the main community committees, who came across to the representation evening in Raglan, and there was an interest as well from him. I'm not quite sure why he didn't make a submission. But there was an interest and an agreement that actually Raglan was a definite community of interest. So we didn't, when we made our recommendation to council, we put that in as a suggestion rather than that we felt very strongly about that. So we don't feel as strongly about that one, but it kind of seems kind of obvious because of the connection.
Thank you.
Councillor Maguire.
Gabrielle, I'm just wondering, would you, the way you're talking perhaps you think the community board should be across the whole ward so rural people can participate in your board rather than just Stephen.
No, I would say that we are looking at communities of interest, so people that connect very strongly to Raglan. So I think there are some areas in the existing ward, maybe in Waitatuna, that I wouldn't be confident to say that their main community of interest is Raglan. So I wouldn't be suggesting, and certainly if the ward boundary changes to extend even further, I would not say with confidence that those other communities have Raglan as their community of interest. So no, I wouldn't recommend that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Thank you, Gabriel. Just going to Councillor Maguire's comment with regard to representation for rural, would you say that the community board, with regard to Timata, Tiuku, Okiti and Ruapuki, is still quite a significant area of rural in there? So it is giving our rural community a voice, would you say, in terms of that? Well, being cognizant to what you just said, that Waitatuna is just that much further out, and the community there, some of them, their interest, community of interest would be Hamilton, for example, as opposed to Raglan, so it would be split. But would you say that the board would then, if it was to increase as being proposed, would include a rural voice as well and giving them the opportunity as part of the Raglan Community Board considerations?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that actually we are open to as a board, is that we want to have the rural voice. I don't mean it's because there's this blur between, we can see that there's a different concerns and interests for, for rural communities as such, farming communities and those people that are, I can see that. But what we're saying is that because a lot of people are living in these communities, may not even be farming people, they might be people on lifestyle blocks and things like that, then it's not the same as traditionally that very clear split. And when we did our work through Raglan Naturally and went out to a couple of the town halls, it was very clear that they really appreciated that we had even gone out to them and that they were kind of like, finally, you're connecting with us. So it just felt very clear they want to have a stronger connection in local government, and I suppose some more rural voice be heard. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Church.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Gabriel. It's been very comprehensive. And my question is around, I guess it's at two parts. So when the community board went out and talked to people, so they understood that there's a targeted rate around a community board extension, and then we bring in places like rural Te Akau, which is quite specifically a rural area. So was there any feedback around those things, around realising, or was there conversations with the people around targeted rates and being mixed in with real farming areas that have been in like other wards?
So in terms of the targeted rate, we decided, we had some conversations as a board and also with council staff, just, who are working on the representation review. And we realised that actually bringing in the targeted rate was, I wouldn't say would confuse it, but actually it didn't seem to be a necessary part of having the conversation. Basically, yeah, we just were wanting to stay focused on what so no, we didn't really, some people might have talked about that, but we didn't emphasize it. It didn't seem too important.
Okay, thanks, Gabriel. That's your time. Thank you very much for your submission. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you very much. Thanks for the question.
Bye-bye. Right. Have we got what is our time?
Right,
Have we got
Your Worship.
20?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have. Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Submission number 2081, page 43, D Bond is already in the waiting room if you want to take her now.
Oh, Dee's not due until this afternoon. Oh, until later this morning, is she?
Yes.
Okay, in the interest of time, we will take, if there's no one else there, we will take her. So it's on page 43. Now let me find it first. Right. Okay. coming in? She going in?
She is coming in.
She's coming in. Where are you? She
It
gone out?
appears she's dropped off, Your Worship. So we'll have to wait for her to come back in.
Okay.
So we don't have anyone else until 10:20, which is the Te Akau Wainaro Community Complex. John Jackson, Diane Brown, and Molly.
Okay. Okay. Just trying to think here. Okay, so we can't do much if these dropped out. I can't do much about that. Just that because she probably wasn't expecting to be up. She's an hour earlier than normal than what she was identified for.
So do you want to adjourn till 10:20?
Yeah, this is what I said about the difficulty of doing this sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, so look, everybody take a 15-minute break, eh? So I'll adjourn it till 10:20 at this stage. And look, I think we're going to end up having a few adjournments. Councillor Church, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you. Just a question. I just wondered whether Dee might have been wanting to come in early to listen, because is it an open meeting for that? Because we do have committers that come in for quite, have listened in the past for half a day or longer. I just wondered whether that may have been the reason she was coming in.
Yes, she is. She can listen. They all got the link, councillor, and we're advised that they can watch the hearings through YouTube.
Right.
For the live webcast. So at any time, people could have gone onto the YouTube recording, and so we asked them specifically to only come in close to their submission time.
Yeah. Just double checking that sometimes it's quite confusing for them to how to get in or where to go. So that may be why she's early. Thank you.
All right, so we'll take a 15-minute interval, everybody.